Alright, what is up, guys? I'm here with another good video. This will be a video live stream, so I'm just going to kind of speak like my mind about what's going to be talked about for this live. We're going to be talking about the Canelo Alvarez versus Caleb Plant situation. I was actually kind of surprised of like what was going to be put out for this fight alone, but I'm actually kind of happy because I actually was thinking that Canelo was just going to get Caleb Plant and then probably dip out of 168, but little did I know, and shame on the Canelo fans lying about this fight, but we're going to be talking about what I myself found out, and I obviously found out through other YouTube channels. Shout out to Blue Blood, Kano Loco, BFTB, everybody out of the LDBC. But what happened was that Canelo Alvarez agreed to fight Caleb Plant on Al Heyman's terms, to fight on the PBC for Undisputed. But if he is successful against Caleb Plant, Canelo Alvarez has to face his mandatory challenger in David Benavidez. So, you know what? I'm actually going to be cool with this. I'm actually cool to see what's going on with, with this fight, because if Canelo is successful against Caleb Plant, you already know what's going to happen. Yo, what's up, Mo Boxing? Yo, what's up, brother man? What's up, brother man? Yeah, let's go. Shout out to Mo Boxing. Subscribe to the homie Mo Boxing. But, let's talk about this because this is very interesting. I actually thought Canelo was going to just fight Caleb Plant and then that's it. But now that we're here, I think this is a really good opportunity for Caleb Plant now, because me personally, I think otherwise. I don't think Canelo is going to beat Caleb. I think Caleb is going to brutally style on him, and I don't think Canelo is going to get away with him having Caleb in front of him, and it's going to be like this easy fight where Canelo is going to break Caleb down and then Caleb is just going to get knocked out. No, I don't see it that way. I see it to be more of a difficult fight because Caleb Plant, even though that he's a mover, I think Caleb is going to demolish Canelo, especially off the outside. I think on the outside Caleb, he wins, but on the inside, if Caleb uses his defensive slickness, off a jab, I don't see how Canelo really gets onto the inside, because we all know if Canelo does hit Caleb, really hard on the inside, and Caleb, starts to shell up and he gets beat to the inside, then Canelo, he could easily have a chance to knock him out. But I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be a very difficult fight, and I don't see how Canelo is going to get to Caleb, because last time I checked, Canelo, he struggled against movers. And when Canelo struggles against a guy that likes to move, and then he also hits you at the same time, I think we've seen that out of Floyd Mayweather. So now it's making me want to ask you, Canelo hater or Canelo fan dick riders, why does Canelo not fight a guy that's a mover? And here's my answer to all you Canelo, dick riding fanboys. Canelo does not like to face a style like that. Canelo avoids a style like that. So now that I'm seeing this fight between him and Plant, we have so much to analyze out of this fight. And it's going to be very interesting to see where Canelo will go from this fight alone. Because I do think Canelo, he could easily lose this fight. But knowing that we have this on the PBC, this ain't no fucking DAZN bullshit. This is going to be a much bigger fight, because now we have David Benavidez in the mix. So now it's going to be a much bigger test for Canelo to prove his worth to the world, and I'd say to the boxing, critics and boxing legacy analysts and boxing media like myself. I just do this for fun. I love talking sports, And I love the sport of boxing. I love getting into boxing. I box myself, and I get better as a southpaw every single day. But I have to get back into the gym. I have been quite inactive in a while, but like me personally, I'm like naturally good at it. But when I do analyze the sport of boxing and look at how fighters fight, it's very interesting to see how their styles mesh into other styles, because I don't believe in the triangular effect in boxing, but I do believe that styles make fights, and I think stylistically, when we take a look at this fight, Canelo is very, very heavily favored to win this fight, and I don't disregard Canelo's skills and abilities. I think Canelo, he's great as an inside fighter, but when we get to outside boxing, I think Canelo, he loses, and I don't see how Canelo, he's going to keep up with a guy that knows how to move. But Canelo, if he doesn't know how to cut that ring off and get Caleb to the ropes, or at least cut him off to a corner, then yeah, maybe Canelo can win. But I have like a really big feeling that Canelo is just gonna straight up lose, because we've seen it in the Floyd Mayweather fight, we've seen it in the Austin Trout fight, we've seen it in the Arislandi Lara fight, we've seen it I probably would say in the whatchamacallit fight. I don't know what's that other fight that he fought on. I want to say, was it the Cotto fight? No, I don't think it was the Cotto fight. No, I'll actually use up the Billy Joe Saunders fight. Yeah, the Billy Joe Saunders fight gave him a lot of issues. Yeah, I mean, 9 times out of 10 in Canelo, he really loses to a guy that has a lot of slick movement. And when he loses, to that style, it's a long night for him to win. But I think it'll be interesting to see where things go with him, because I really do want to see how Canelo edges with a guy like Plant. And I think Plant, he's really going to have a lot of pressure, from all the critics trying to say, oh, he's going to get stopped, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just sitting here like, you realize Plant, he is a really good technical boxer. He doesn't just F around, just sitting on the outside and just, using his jab all night. He has like technical IQ to break people down and then sit on his punches if he needs to. But I think, me personally, like, Plant is like the other side of Andrade in a way. And I think, to a certain similarity, he has like shades of Andrade, but he has like a little protege of Floyd Mayweather in a sense. Not all the way completely, because Floyd, he's a way completely different fighter than Plant. But I think how Plant fights, he kind of like, mimics what Floyd does in a way. But I'd say that the closest style next to him would probably be Andrade, because they almost kind of fight almost at the same way, which is kind of weird. But I think how Andrade fights, he fights more elusively. Plant, he fights more conventional, and that's what I like out of Plant. He's a very good conventional fighter. He doesn't he doesn't let you just come straight forward to him. He makes you very confused with his footwork. He's good with his counter punching IQ, and just using the ring as his methodology of picking and choosing his punches all fight long is what makes him good. And I think with a guy like Canelo, obviously what the critics are going to say, like, oh, well, Plant, he needs to have power to push Canelo back. And I think, honestly, it wouldn't make a difference, because when Floyd fought Canelo, Floyd, he had a decent amount of power, but Floyd is not pretty boy anymore, and Floyd, he did his thing against Canelo. And I think if he could take a book out of that, fight itself, or take a chapter out of that fight itself, I think Plant could easily defeat Canelo, boxing from the outside and using his jab to basically outpunch Canelo, off the exchanges, because obviously we all know what Canelo is going to do. He's just going to come forward. He's going to use that little Mike Tyson-esque brawler style to kind of come in, try to find those inside shots, and then get Plant to a very uncomfortable position. And then when he gets clipped, then Canelo, he's just gonna go right in and try to knock him out. Because I really do see Canelo knocking out Plant if Plant leaves himself wide open. Because I don't think Plant has ever been in a situation where when he does get hurt, does he hold? Does he move around? Does he at least make those adjustments to not let a heavy-handed puncher like Canelo, knock him out? And I think, honestly, like the only toughest fight I would even say for him would be the, Jose Uzcategui fight. And I give a lot of respect to Plant for defeating him because Jose, he ain't no joke. Jose is a very deadly fighter. His punches show why he's a very deadly brawler. But I think Plant, he obviously had a lot of pressure going into that fight, so just coming in for like your first world title appearance is very difficult, especially fighting for a world title. So I think that fight alone helped him mature a lot quicker, becoming a champion. But my only criticism towards Plant is that he should have fought bigger names at 168, and I think he shouldn't have fought his mandatories just to use that as an excuse to say, oh, well, I don't want to fight David Benavidez, blah, blah, blah. Let this fight build up. Nah, dude, you should have went after David Benavidez as soon as you got the IBF. He should have said to David Benavidez, all right, I got the IBF, David Benavidez, where are you? Let's get this fight and make it happen. I think that's what Plant should have done. But I think what Plant was expecting was that he was expecting David Benavidez to either miss weight and lose his title, or if he was going to keep the title, he was going to call for unification as soon as David unifies with Billy Joe Saunders or go after him. Because, if you really think about it, it makes all the sense in the world to do that. But on top of that, you had Caleb Smith in the way. So I think if I was Plant in that situation, I would have gone after Caleb Smith as soon as I won my title, because there would be more money on the table with David Benavidez or Canelo after David lost his belt off the scale, which I felt that was that was a pretty evil move out of the WBC just to strip him, and then he can't re-challenge for his world title after he missed weight. Fuck out of here. It's like, Canelo, Canelo, when he misses weight, the WBC gives him leeway and he's able to re-challenge for his fucking belt. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Because, we've seen that before when he tried, fighting at catchweights for his, world championship fights at 154. I forgot, but basically Canelo, he gets that double standard treatment, but when it comes to David Benavidez, he doesn't. Because David, he worked his ass off to get to that level, and nobody gives him, any respect anymore. Because why? Okay, first time, yeah, it was justified for him to lose his belt because he got caught with, popping dirty with cocaine. And then the second time, okay, yeah, you miss weight because of, the COVID protocol restrictions, but it's like, it doesn't make any damn sense because, 9 times out of 10, champions do get a chance of re-challenging for the title if they miss weight. So I don't see how David could have been given another opportunity after beating Alexis Angulo. But either way, I don't give a shit about that because, the WBC, they're evil and corrupt, and I hope David, he gets his just due because, it's time for him to, come back into the bigger stage, and he deserves it. I don't see how Canelo really deserves that title. Honestly, Canelo knew that he rather just steal the title away from David, and then on top of that, he cherry-picked Avni Yildirim, which was a fact. Don't even try to come at me with that bullshit to say he didn't have Avni Yildirim as his mandatory. He requested it. He called the WBC immediately to make that fight, to have Yildirim, who was his longtime sparring partner, to have that fight made for the WBC title after David Benavidez's title got stripped and vacated. So, miss me with that fucking bullshit to say Canelo, earned his way up to, to the WBC title. He did not. He set that shit up because he knew he could not fuck with David Benavidez having the title in the first place. So now the bigger issue that I have here is that why was Canelo trying to lowball Caleb Plant for this fight? Because if we're going to talk undisputed, you have to at least give Caleb Plant a good amount of money for this fight to be made. And Canelo, he didn't want to give Caleb Plant $10 million. He tried to give him lower than that. I think like $2 or $3 fucking million. But either way, I think Canelo, he would obviously rather do that. But knowing that Canelo, he has his own promotional label, but yet you're still with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, it doesn't show a lot of worth in your, contract negotiations. Because he tried screwing over Caleb the first time of trying to say, hey, well, I'll fight you, but if you want to fight us in 3 or 4 weeks notice, that's not going to give it's not going to give Caleb any time to prepare and get ready for that fight. So Canelo tried fucking with him in that fight alone to make it difficult for him to get ready. But now, come the second time, it's that Caleb, he's not going to get paid as much money for the fight, and Canelo, he's going to get I forgot how much money it's going to be down for. I think he's going to get his biggest payday. I heard it's like $45 million. Plus, it's going to be on pay-per-view, so hopefully the pay-per-view numbers are good, and I'm hoping that the undercard's good too. But if that does go well, I'll give Canelo a lot of credibility, because at least if you do beat Caleb Plant, which I think it would be very, very likely if he does beat him, if he boxes smart, but I don't think that's going to be the case. It's going to be a very 50-50 fight, because what Canelo fans don't understand is that Caleb Plant, he's not just a boxer, he's a boxer-puncher. And Caleb, he's a technical, conventional fighter. And the problem with Canelo is that he does not like to face fighters with technical, boxing. Because when they have that IQ and they have that slickness, especially from the orthodox, stance position, he struggles. But if it's coming from a southpaw, Canelo, he does not face southpaws that often. That's why, with the exception of Billy Joe Saunders in his last fight, he doesn't face a southpaw that knows how to use the southpaw abilities to the fullest maximum. So with Caleb Plant, it's kind of a little bit more difficult for you to try to hit him, especially even if you're going to try to go after him on the inside or outside, because Canelo, he doesn't move that well. So if I'm Canelo Alvarez, how am I going to beat a guy like Plant if he's going to move all fight long? And I think it's going to be just like the Floyd fight, almost similar, if not a little bit different in the sense of how Caleb's going to initiate his punches on Canelo. And I think, honestly, it's just going to be the same thing. That's how I'm seeing this fight go down. And I think, at the end of the day, Canelo, he knows he's screwed if he can't get to Plant. But I think, his overconfidence of him thinking he could defeat Plant doesn't make any sense, because when was ever the last time you've ever faced a guy with super slickness? The last guy was Erislandy Lara, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was Lara, because after Lara, Canelo didn't even want to face no more southpaws. He didn't want to face no more slick fighters that actually had defensive IQ. And ever since then, he's been fighting guys that he knows he can beat, that are tailor-made for him. They just come forward, they're sitting right in front of him, so that way he could hit you. And then Canelo, he can't really do too much on defense, because guess what? Their punches don't even hurt, because Canelo knows oh, well, I'll just face a guy like Liam Smith and Caleb Smith, all these white European fighters that make no goddamn sense. And once it comes to Caleb Plant, it's I don't understand Canelo. I think Canelo is trying to duck his way to the top, and I do respect it, but at the same time, ducking can only be achieved so many times until you mess with the wrong person that you cherry pick. And I think this is gonna be the fight where he screws up, because I don't see how Canelo thinks he could beat a guy like Plant. But it'll be interesting to see what he's gonna do. But I'll give him nothing but respect for him to win undisputed. Well, actually, no. I'm still not going to give him Yeah, I'm still not going to give him respect because he has to face. Yeah, he has to face David Benavidez after this fight, because in the contract, yeah, in the contract alone that he signed, he has to face David Benavidez. So Al Heyman already got him right into the right into that trap. So either way, Canelo, he's basically in a rocking a hard place, and hopefully Canelo he can stick to that word because either way, I don't think Canelo is gonna have balls to face David Benavidez. I think he's gonna duck him, and I think David he's gonna get the title, beat everybody's ass at 168, and then he'll be the next undisputed world champion. But it'll be interesting to see what Canelo is going to do after this fight. I don't see Canelo just easily just dog walking Plant like everybody says he's gonna do. Because if that's true, like why didn't he face Caleb Plant sooner than later? And why did Canelo pull out of that fight when he knew that Caleb Plant needed more time to get ready, and it would have been a better sell to defeat Caleb and then go after Caleb Smith and then go after Billy Joe Saunders? You know, to me, that would make a lot more sense. I would get rid of like the guy that has the higher chance of defeating me versus the guy that has like the lower chance of defeating me that I know I could beat. But even with like the Billy Joe Saunders fight, Canelo, he struggled. He struggled a lot. And that's what a lot of people don't want to talk about, which I don't understand why you Canelo dipshits want to lie about that, but it makes all the sense in the world because you guys don't understand boxing. But let me tell you something. When Canelo, when he faces a guy that knows how to move and has power with his boxing ability, don't be surprised when Canelo gets knocked out. Because I can easily see Canelo getting knocked out, which he's been caught dirty with steroids twice, by the way. The Triple G fight, and then I forgot the other fight. I want to say it was a Triple G fight, and then who else? Was it the Alfredo Angulo fight? Yeah, I want to say it was that fight too, but either way, Canelo, he's a cheater, and I could tell his body type is not even, like, you know, he's like way bigger, you know, of a fighter that shouldn't be fighting at 168. Like, if anything, Canelo, he's more fit to fight at like light heavyweight, but it's like, I don't understand like why he would have to cheat if he calls himself pound for pound. Like, right? You know, if you're pound for pound number one, why the hell do you have to fucking cheat? If you're a Canelo fan, why are you supporting a fighter that cheats? Thank you. It makes all the sense in the world, but, you know, I don't really need to explain much about Canelo, because Canelo, he knows that he can't beat guys that are more slicker than him, because his style is only tailor-made for guys that he knows he could beat. Or his style is only made to fight against guys that have, you know, the same style as him, but he knows he could beat them. That's why Canelo, he will never face a guy that has a slick style and gives him a lot of, you know, how should I say, gives him a lot of technical problems in the ring. He does not want to face a guy that gives him a lot of defensive IQ. He moves around, gets his heart rate going when he works him to the inside, moves to the outside. You know, Canelo doesn't want to face a guy with that type of IQ. He only wants to face a guy that just comes forward, and it's been shown like that for his last 3 fights. You know, just cross out Billy Joe Saunders, but with Caleb Smith, Avni Yildirim, and who else was that other dipshit? I forgot. Who was at the last fight? Was it Danny Jacobs, Triple G? Yeah, I want to say it was Triple G. I don't care. Either way, but his last fights leading up to, you know, Billy Joe Saunders, those last 3 fights were against guys that were tailor-made for him, pretty much. Actually, no. Let me just actually take a look at it, because, you know, I'm not going to cap. You know, I'm going to actually bring facts to the table. But his last 3 fights prior to Billy Joe Saunders, we'll take a look at it right here, because I'm not stupid. I'm actually smarter than most people that think I can't talk in boxing. But yeah, Avni Yildirim, Caleb Smith, Sergey Kovalev, which he fought him off a short notice. But after the Kovalev fight, he fought Caleb Smith, got the WBC, super middleweight title that was vacated that was stripped by David Benavidez. So he took that shit and he fought Caleb Smith. And then he requested Avni Yildirim. Yep, he requested that fight. And then after that, Billy Joe. Canelo, he's all fucking cap, man. Fuck that piece of shit. But it makes all the sense in the world why him fighting Caleb Plant, at the very end would somehow make a lot more sense for Undisputed, because you got one more final fight, and that would be like the toughest fight ever. Which I can understand that, because, if I'm Canelo and I'm going to keep ducking, all the smoke till the very end, you would rather duck the smoke earlier leading up to the end of... Yeah, basically, you would take all of your easier competition out, and then when it comes to the tougher competition, you could just take them out easier that way. And I don't understand why Canelo thought this is the right way to go, because now there's a lot more pressure on this fight now on Canelo, because Canelo knows that he has a lot to lose, but Caleb, he has a lot to gain. So now it's really difficult to determine where things will go in his career. Because if he loses to Plant in a very devastating manner, where Plant just pulls off another Floyd Mayweather on him, I won't be surprised, because Canelo, he's not going to try to hit Plant with all these good flashy punches and just have his way by having Plant sitting in front of him. Plant is going to move around it, and he's going to be defensively slick on Canelo. But Plant, he has a really good jab too, so I don't know how Canelo is going to counter that. So that's going to be very difficult for Canelo to determine how he's going to get around that and try to move his head around, which he doesn't really do that. He just comes forward. He just sits there, keeps his hands up high in a high guard, which I actually do, respect that out of him, but it's not that smart, because you keep getting touched up, which allows the opponent to get more points off of you round by round, which I think, honestly, my prediction for this fight is that Caleb Plant wins by a split decision or a unanimous decision, similar to Floyd Mayweather, or Canelo knocks out Plant with a body shot. I think Plant is going to get clipped hard to the body, and Canelo is going to drop him probably later rounds, maybe 10th, 11th round, and then Canelo is going to knock him out probably to a body shot by the 11th or 12th round. I don't know. I don't think Canelo is going to really do that. I think Plant is going to understand his weaknesses, and he's going to hide that very well. But I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting stylistic matchup. But either way, I think Canelo knows that if he doesn't fight David Benavidez, which that's going to be the toughest fight ever, I think honestly, I think both of these fights are going to be tough for him. But Caleb Plant is no joke. I really do think Canelo is biting off more than he could chew against Caleb. But if he comes in with a really good mastermind mindset, it's game over. Canelo, he cannot win against a guy that boxes smart. Because we've seen that before. We've seen that with Arislani Lara. We've seen that with Austin Trout. Which Austin Trout, he was winning that fight, by the way. But then Canelo, he got lucky off of those knockdowns. So it just shows that when he faces a guy that drains him out mentally, he just can't win. And we've seen that from the Arislani Lara fight and the Floyd Mayweather fight, and then even recently with the Billy Joe Saunders fight. Even though Billy Joe, I kind of felt like he kind of took a dive by quitting in his corner with with that broken eye socket bullshit. But if that was to be true, then fuck Billy Ho. Billy Ho, he didn't really deserve to be at that level anyway. But either way, I just think style-wise, Canelo, he struggles against a slick fighter that knows how to break him down mentally. And then physically, when Canelo, if he gets hit by a big punch from a slick fighter, Canelo, he doesn't respond well to that. But it's going to be interesting to see what Canelo is going to go through in this fight. Because I know the David Benavidez fight, that'll be the toughest test higher over Caleb Plant. I think Caleb Plant is 55-45 Canelo's way. But I think, to me at least, it's a true 50-50 fight on both ends. And it's good that Al Heyman, he he told Canelo, hey, look, if you want my fighter, you got to go through David Benavidez, my other fighter, because Al Heyman, he's not a fucking promoter, he's just an advisor. But the good thing about it is that David Benavidez is next in line to get the WBC mandatory position. So I think the WBC knew that David Benavidez, he didn't have that much to do to climb back up to the title, because it's like, okay, yeah, they fucked up on their end by trying to strip David Benavidez and then just give it to Canelo so that way he could fight Caleb Smith for the vacant WBC title. It's like, who the fuck did Caleb Smith beat to get to that level? It makes no fucking sense. And then Canelo decides to cherry pick Avni Yildirim, a fight that didn't make any goddamn sense whatsoever, and then he comes out of his way and fights, Billy Joe Saunders in another unification. It makes no fucking sense whatsoever. But I understand why, because Canelo, he's trying to get all the easier fights out the way, and then his last fight at 168 will just be Caleb Plant. But he wanted to try to lowball Plant and his team, so that way he could just have an easier payday, and then Plant, he can't have a opportunity to whatchamacallit, get enough money out of this fight. And then Canelo wanted to leave 168 as soon as David becomes his mandatory, which I think Canelo, he knows that this is his last opportunity to try to get undisputed. Because if Canelo tries to do undisputed, like, let's just say he gets undisputed, he ducks David Benavidez, does the same thing at 175, which I don't see him really doing that. Maybe not. I mean, honestly, he would just have to fight Arthur Beterbiev and Bivol. I think Bivol can easily hurt Canelo, and Canelo, he could easily lose that fight. But Beterbiev, I could definitely see Canelo beating him. That'll be a big win. I'll give him a lot of respect for that if he beats him. But if he ducks David Benavidez, he's going to be disrespected by me and many other people, and that's what I'm predicting. I'm predicting Canelo vacating all of his belts for undisputed if he decides to move up to 175, avoid David Benavidez. He's probably going to pay a massive hefty fine because David Benavidez, he's gonna obviously call out Canelo, and Canelo's gonna say, oh, no, I can't fight, Mexican fighters, they my people. Yeah, you fought, Alfredo Angulo. Shut the fuck up, man. Fucking Canelo's a piece of shit, man. But it makes all the sense in the world, because he knows he can't beat David. You duck your competition because you are surrendering you're surrendering your talents to that fighter. You're basically saying, I can't fuck with you. It's the same thing with Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. Amanda Serrano's been calling out Katie for centuries, but yet Katie, she doesn't say one word about Amanda, because she knows what Amanda will do to her. Amanda will brutally stop her. And now, Eddie Hearn is saying, oh, he's gonna try considering to make that fight sometime in March. Fuck out of here, man. It's like, what is Eddie Hearn thinking? Is he trying to set up Katie for failure? Or is he trying to make Katie get built up with all this hype, and then once it's down for her very last fight for her to fail, it's going to be Amanda, obviously stopping her? Which we all know, Katie, she's just cherry picking at this point. She's just picking and choosing fighters that are not even that good. And I mean, the only fighter that really gave her issues was Jessica McCaskill, which I thought, McCaskill could have easily stopped her. She needs to do better with boxing. She needs to start learning how to technically break fighters down. But Natasha Jonas easily, gave Katie problems. I don't know how, Katie really won that fight. I thought Katie actually lost that fight, to be honest. But credits to her for beating her. But if it's against Amanda Serrano or Chantel Cameron, or let's just say, Michaela Mayer, or anybody with a slick style, Alicia Baumgartner, those type of S-level, S- or A+ type fighters can easily defeat her. I think Katie Taylor is a B-level fighter. She's not as good as she claims to say that she is. She only stays at 135. She doesn't even plan to move up or even go down. She doesn't challenge herself to the highest bidder. She's just staying at her one little division at 135. She doesn't even call out fucking Clarissa. You know, like, how disrespectful is that? You know, I understand, you know, she's going to move up like 3 weight divisions if she, you know, if she fights, you know, Clarissa. You know, if she wants to fight her at like maybe 154, maybe fight at like a catch weight, I actually wouldn't mind that. You know, that's only 15 pounds for her to actually try to make that weight. I don't see why not. Katie's not, you know, well, I'm probably thinking a little bit too much, you know, for her, but if she's able to make that weight, maybe fight at a catch weight to fight Clarissa and fight for, you know, like a title fight or something like that, I wouldn't mind that. You know, I think that would be very interesting to see Clarissa fight Katie for, you know, like an undisputed catchweight bout. I don't know, but that could be something that could be made. But the most realistic fight for Katie Taylor would be an Amanda Serrano fight, because Amanda Serrano has been calling her ass out, and Amanda's been saying all the right things to make that fight, and yet Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, they just kind of shrug that shit off because they know what Amanda's gonna do to her. You know, they've been keeping Katie Taylor nice and cozy to fight all these, you know, no name fighters. Yeah, she's gonna fight Jennifer Hahn, right? And you know, she fought that Gutierrez lady. I don't know why the fuck she fought that Spaniard lady. It didn't make any goddamn sense. I guess she was like another mandatory that just popped up, right? You know, just absolutely garbage, man. But I think Katie Taylor, she knows that her time is up, and eventually, I think her loss is definitely going to come to Amanda Serrano, because once Amanda Serrano, I think Amanda Serrano is going to roll right through Mercado, which I love Mercado. She's a beautiful, amazing fighter. I got a lot of respect for Mexican women like her, but I think Amanda, stylistically, she's going to Evander Holyfield 2.0 her to death. But I think Mercado, she's going to give a really tough fight. And I think Amanda, she's just going to pull off with the same, you know, the same performance that she did against Daniela Bermudez. And I can't wait for that, because it's going to be on the Jake Paul, you know, Tyron Woodley card. She's a co-main event. Go support the beautiful queen. Long live Puerto Rico. That's going to be fun to watch. But my final thoughts on this Canelo bullshit is Canelo, he's obviously trying to duck his way to the top, and this is like the make or break final situation. So I don't know. I think Canelo, he has a lot to prove in this fight, and I think a Caleb Plant victory will solidify legacy. And good for him if he gets undisputed. I don't really care. I think, honestly, I'm still not going to consider him undisputed. I'm going to consider him like the undisputed champion, because you obviously ducked your way to that position. You wanted to wait for David Benavidez to lose his title, and then you got into political connections with the WBC to set up the Caleb Smith fight and all these other tailor-made opponents that you wanted to go after to make it easier for you to win, because you knew damn well that David Benavidez, he would knock your ass out clean and cold. But now that you have to fight David Benavidez, or I'm just hoping if he doesn't choose to fight him, David Benavidez can either file a lawsuit against Canelo, and Canelo, he'll pay the hefty fine, and then Canelo would either be forced to fight David Benavidez or retire from the sport. I think, honestly, that makes a lot of sense, because if you sign a contract to go fight a fighter, you should have to, like Canelo shouldn't be able to get away from that fight. That should be held to the same principle with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. If you agree to fight this guy after this other guy, if you win, you have to fight this guy, or else you can't fight anymore until you fight this guy, or just get out and fucking retire. And I wouldn't be, surprised if that happens, because Al Heyman, he's not an idiot. He's a very smart businessman, and I think it made all the sense in the world for him to add in David Benavidez in the mix. And I think Jamal Charlo, I'm not too sure if he was in that contractual obligation. I don't think Charlo would have agreed to that, because if it means like Charlo and Benavidez, let's just say if it was in a deal to say that Canelo if he wins, Charlo and David Benavidez would fight each other to be the mandatory challenger for Canelo. And I think, on Jamal's point of view, he knows damn well he does not want to do that because that's way too risky. He'd rather fight one by one. If I'm Jamal Charlo, I would fight David Benavidez, take my chances with him. If I beat his ass, then yeah, I go after Canelo. But he rather just go after Canelo. That's why Canelo tried so hard to avoid the Charlo fight for so long, that now Charlo, now that he tests his luck with David Benavidez, which I don't want to say he's ducking David Benavidez, but at this point, Jamal Charlo, he's playing it safe. He'd rather try to do what he has to do at 160, which I don't think he has really that much left at 160. I don't know why the fuck he's still there. He should just move up, fight David Benavidez, beat his ass, and then boom. There we go. I don't think David Benavidez is going to be stopped. He got Jose Uzcategui. I think Uzcategui is going to be demolished by David. And David's going to be next up to, beat the crap out of Canelo. And I think, anything else that I don't know about David Benavidez, he's definitely wanting to take Canelo's head off. And he said on multiple occasions that I know that I can beat the shit out of Canelo. Canelo is a good fighter, but he said straight up, like, I know that I can knock his ass out. It makes all the sense in the world, and that's why Canelo, he didn't want to fight him when he was a champion. But now you're saying you are willing to fight him now that you are the champion, and if you are successful of being undisputed, like, what does this mean now? Like, is Canelo going to hold his word? Is he going to hold his word to the to the table of the contractual obligation to fight David Benavidez after Plant? And I think, to me, I don't think so. I think Canelo's going to pull off Tyson Fury, and he's not going to fight. He's not going to fight David Benavidez. He's going to duck. But actions speak louder than words. So maybe if Canelo, if he has those balls to fight him, I would hope so, because I really want to see the fight. I want to see Canelo tested. I want to see Canelo get hurt. I want to see Canelo get knocked down. I want to see all these things of what he's going to do when it's crunch time in a very difficult fight. But the only way we could see... The only way that we could see that is when Canelo steps into that ring and starts to fight them. So that's pretty much what I got to say. I don't really say all this hateful criticism on Canelo just because I hate him. I say it obviously to criticize, Canelo Alvarez for the sake of him not wanting to fight the best and him making all these excuses to say why he cannot fight the best, because he says he's pound for pound, but yet you're not fighting pound for pound fighters. But that's pretty much it. That's what I had to say. So, that's pretty much what I had to say. KGT said, so do tell how Canelo fans were lied to. No, I said Canelo fans were lying about the situation about Caleb Plant. But either way, I could tell you're a troll, so get the hell out of my channel, because I don't understand why you're here. See you later. But either way, that's pretty much what I have to say. I think Canelo knows what is on the line here, and it will be interesting to see what things have to come down in the future, and I can't wait. So that's pretty much what I have to say. Let me know what you guys have to say about this. Obviously this dumbass is commenting saying, stop deleting comments, puta. Who the fuck are you, man? Pendejo? You call me a fucking pendejo, but yet, you don't have no, I don't even know you, dude. But just to even clear this up, I don't delete comments. I think it's because YouTube deletes the comments, automatically, because I don't know what the hell is going on, but I guess there's a commenting filter. I don't know, but just to put that out there, I don't say anything in the comment section. I don't delete, I'll delete rude ass comments that pull up on me, but anything else beyond that, I think YouTube automatically takes out rude content, because every time when I comment on shit, especially when I have some rude shit to say, like, my shit gets deleted, but other people's racist ass comments or shitty comments get deleted too, or they get put on there. I'm not too sure, but either way, it doesn't really matter to me, because I just kind of say like whatever I have to say, and I just move on. But that's all that I gotta say for you guys. To hell with Canelo. To hell with you bitch ass Canelo dickroid fans. Burn in hell. And I want to see Canelo get killed, man. Because Canelo, you suck. Because you're a garbage ass fighter. You have no skills. So Canelo Alvarez, stop ducking the best and fight your contemporaries. I'll see y'all later.